Okay, so I'm starting. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, welcome to the seventh session of clinical research methodology. Myself is Dr. Chandraja, and I thank Dr. Bhavya for giving me the chance. And there are 53 participants. Okay. So, I think we can begin the next module today. The second module is inferential statistics. You all know what is inferential statistics, because to find certain answers for some questions, it is very important for us to that is evaluate certain features of the community. For example, when you want to understand what type of disease is prevalent in a particular area, you have to first do a survey in that area and make a sum up in some results. That means the main disease, that is the major disease seen among the patient is this one, diabetes. The second was hypertension. The third was thyroid disorder. Fourth was that is eye related disorders. So likewise, you can differentiate so many different things from a particular study, and that may that the all the studies, all the experimental studies, all the clinical studies is done based upon the information gained from the inferential statistics. There is another term to describe inferential statistics, another, that is core term, which is called as descriptive, where we also describe the particular population. I'll tell that in detail today. So today our topic is, we are going to the statistical part. I have already dealt with the research methodology area. Then the applicative part is the statistics part. How we can make a decision, and the decision making process of a research that is done through statistical analysis. So the beginning of it, we have to understand what is data. Data we have already discussed. Primary, there is data, and secondary data, all those things. Today we'll be also understand the different methods used there. We'll condense all the last portions, and also go to the that is this measurement of certain important terms, measuring terms called as mean, median, mode, deviation, variance, all those things. So today let us start with the inferential statistics. Let me explain you what is inferential statistics. I'll share my screen. So this is our today's module, inferential statistics used in biological and clinical sciences. So this very important is presentation of data. Data have to be presented in different that is types. That is, we can even write in the form of tables. We can draw figures. We can draw graphs. There's lots and lots of presentation of data. And before that, we have to understand what type of data it is. Based upon the data, we can plan whether we have to present the data in the form of a table or a figure or chart or different type of diagrams, all those things. So let me go to the next slide, that is data. Data, as I told you, is a plural term. Data is a set of values of subjects with respect to the qualitative and quantitative variables. But it is nothing but information values. If the term, that is numerical values could be. So sometimes the values can be also a non-numeric. Okay. So based upon certain expressions, certain level of intelligence, we can even do certain grades can be given. So that is also called as data. So usually data is raw. We can get raw data. For example, if you go and put the that is in a classroom, if you go and get the marks of the student, all the data will be individual data. You get 26 marks, you can get 25 marks, you can get 40 marks, all those things are there. So all data are usually raw, unorganized facts that need to be processed. Data can be something this raw data itself will not give any information. So that needs to be processed, and that should be present in a particular manner so that everybody could understand it. So data can be something simple and seemingly random and useless until it is organized. Until you organize it, until you present it properly, it seems to be has no relevance at all. So when data is processed and organized, structured and presented in a given context, it becomes more useful. That is, and that terms it is called as information. So data, which have to be converted to information if it is properly presented. Information is actually the need for a research. Next slide. So we can this side you can see presentation. There is lot of different types of presentation used commonly. We have a pie diagram, we have bar diagram, we have a dough chart, we have that is frequency charts. So many types of charts are there. Line charts are there, arrow charts are there, geographical charts are there, chronological charts are there. Several different types of charts are available now, and you can see new charts are also evolving. Every year we can see a set of new types of data being present in a new type of chart. So let us see first about a different about the contest. Actually, what I want to teach you is differentiate between the two important statistical terms commonly used in the community. That is descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So what is descriptive statistics? It is the use of statistical tools to summarize and describe a set of data values. Human beings usually find it difficult to create meaning from long list of number and words. So we need to summarize the different, there is raw data available to us. So there is long list of data, long list of BMI, long list of age, long list of that is height, weight, etc., marks, etc. So this need to be converted meaningfully. So what is that? We need to summarize it. Summarizing the numbers and counting the occurrence of the words and expressing the summary with a single value makes more sense to the particular information. So descriptive statistics is actually just to summarize and give the information alone. There is no comparison. Okay. So what is inferential statistics? How is it different from the there is descriptive statistics? The inferential statistics different because the investigation of specific elements which allows us to make inferences about large population, that is beyond sample size. Here we compare a group of subjects or individuals. It is normally not possible to include such subjects or individuals. But in a study, if you use this type of statistics, we have to apply certain methodology to get the result from a larger population. So that is so descriptive statistics is actually to convert certain data into information, summarizing the data. Differential statistics is to get the exact conclusion from a data. Here we compare different subjects, different groups, etc. Based upon the age, we divide them into different groups. There we just understand there is in the age group between 20 to 40, there are this many individuals. Between 30 to 40, this many individuals. 40 to 50, this many individuals. But then you see inferential statistics, whether this part of the, that is 40 to 50 age group is higher than the other age group, that type of comparison comes in the differential statistics. So let us see what is primary data. Primary data is an original and unique data which is directly collected by the researcher from a source according to his requirement. That is, if you directly go to the field, if you directly go to the subject and collect the data, that is called as primary data. This I have explained in the last class. It is the data collected by the investigator. That is, if I want the information, I am the investigator. I myself will go for a specific purpose and collect the data. That is called as primary data. Data gathered by finding out firsthand the attitudes of the community towards the health service, ascertaining the health needs of the community, evaluating the social and program, determining the job satisfaction of the employee of the organization, and ascertaining the quality of experience or service provided by the worker are certain examples for primary data. This can be done by different methods: survey, polls, interviews, Delphi technique, focus group discussions, etc. So first-hand information can be collected by what are different methods? By polls, by getting the If you have attended so many surveys with the help of Google Form. Now during COVID, there were so many surveys done. So that surveys can be polls, means to whom you give a vote. That type of polls are there. Direct interviews can be conducted. DALSI technique, I'll explain you that in detail. Focus group discussion, where you talk about a single subject and the whole there is a different heterogeneous group of people are discussing about it all together. That is called focus group discussion. The second type of data can be obtained from a particular source, that is from a secondary source, reliable sources. And that can be certain things like financial report, sales report, government report, mission statement, and interviews of different another people that you don't do by yourself. That one. Secondary data refers to the data which has already been collected for a certain purpose, some other purpose, or the common purpose, and documented somewhere else with some other authority. Data collected by someone else can be used by us for our research purpose, and that becomes secondary data for us. Although it can be the first-hand data for them, that becomes a second-hand data for us, because that is not done for our use. Gathering information with the use of census data to obtain information on the age, sex, structure of the population, hospital records, mortality, morbidity pattern, then articles, journals, magazine, all the data from these things becomes the secondary data. Let us see what is cross-sectional data. Cross-sectional data is very important to understand. It is also called as a snapshot data. Cross-sectional data is done by observing a particular set of subjects or some time and giving a particular remarks for them. Cross-sectional data is a type of data collected by the observing many subjects like individuals together, firm means some companies, countries, regions, at some point of time. It's not for to all together, but for a long time. It's for some point of time, or without regard to differences in time. It is a data for a single time point or single space points. This type of data is limited in that it cannot describe changes over time and cause-effect relationship in which one variable affects the other. Categorical data. Categorical variables present types of data which may be different to groups. Examples, categorical variables are race, sex, age group, and educational level. The data which cannot be measured numerically are also called as categorical data, which we have seen in the last class. There is also an important term to be mentioned here is attributes. A set of data is called as attribute where there is no change in the particular characteristic in a particular particular point of time. For example, intelligence, beauty, literacy rate, unemployment will not change with the some point of time. Okay, so that becomes a categorical data. Time series data. What is time series data? It is measured for a certain time, period of time at a regular basis. For example, like how we calculate the temperature, pressure, atmospheric pressure and temperature, it is done with a particular period of time. Every day, morning and evening measurements is done. So likewise, time series is maintained. Time charts are maintained for this. Time series data occur whenever some measures are recorded at a regular basis. For example, the take measure for certain months, quarter, year, etc. The temperature, weight, population, etc. are done over a period of time. Values of variables remain increasing or decreasing or constant. These are done for certain data. There we can see so much of variation every time. These data will always keep changing. That's what they are calculated at regular basis. This doesn't remain constant for a time. For example, you can see rainfall will not be constant. Temperature will not be constant. Atmospheric pressure will not be constant. So these are commonly varying varied things. That is very important for us to monitor these things. So in that cases, time series data is maintained. Data according to the time period is called as time series data. For example, population is also seen in different time period. Okay. Next, going to the different types of observation done. If you want to take up observations, we have to do observation also in a systematic manner. So this any observation done in a systematic manner is called a systematic observation. You can also do recording. For example, if you want to if you are you're seeing the event for the first time, if you want to do it again and again to analyze and to record it, you can do recording of a particular video, or you can for example, there's a college day event taking place in your college. You want to see the program every day, and if you want to document it to show, for example, some minister have attended your program. So to highlight that event, you're just recording it and just publishing in your website so that people can see it, public can see it, and you get better public coverage. For example, when you go for a NAC and that NAC accreditation or something like that, it is very important to document all this event. Video recording is one such that is a documentation process which is accepted by worldwide, and it is also linked to the time, geographic location, etc. So that is even more validated. And another important thing is description. Description is when you describe a particular event in detail. For example, if you write a report about a particular event, college day or a sports day event, or you write a detail about you conduct a medical camp in a community and write down in detail what is the description of the particular thing, how many people are affected in that area, how many people attended the program, did you give medicines or something like that, did you give awareness program, or how many people were there, our awareness program, what was the outcome of the event. All those things can be described and that is documented. Next thing is analysis. Analyzing, comparing, all those things can be also be a part of whether you are better than who is the best student in the class. Doing an IQ measurement among all these people can be done. It can also, you can also conduct a interpretation of behavior, especially students behavior, behavior of the public, and then how does people react to a particular event happening in the that is community. All those things can be easily be interpreted by the observation. So observation has all this thing. You do it systematically, you can record it, you can observe it just like that. You can describe it in the form of any note or event or journals. Then you can analyze it and interpret it. Types of observation. You can observe a participant and you can tell in writing what happened there, what was the event happened in a more written manner. That is called as different action can be also explained, and that is called as qualitative observation. If it has some, for example, social anthropology is nothing but the individual derives a sense of identity from interaction and communication with others. That means symbolic interactionism is actually nothing but how a person interact with others and communicate with others, and that can be done only by observation of the participant. Then structured observation, this can be done by, it's actually it is done using some questionnaire or like something like that, where you put marks for certain things. For example, if a student is if you want to say the student is highly communicative, the way he behaves, way he smiles, the way he sits, and way he interacts with others is considered, and that will be given certain quantitative marks. So in that way, the structured observation, if you have a particular criteria, you can even give some marks. For example, self-assessments or self-satisfaction assessments are very commonly used. There is a structured observation. So what is the importance of advanced structured observation? So this can be used by anyone for some training purpose. It can be delegated. The results are reliable, not only observes the frequency of the event, but also records the relationship between them. No personal interpretation on events by observers. Everything is recorded at the moment it happens. Structured observation secures information that otherwise would be ignored as insignificant. That means a structured observation. For example, the people who are commonly with the program, like that is college day, arts day, you may know that if you want to put marks for different types of events, if dance, then you give some structures like some criteria, like movements, expression, how was the selection of song, and how did it conclude, did it have some theme. For each and every criteria you give some mark. If you do like that, what happens, all the criteria is considered for every event. எல்லா person வரும்போதும், எல்லா candidate வந்து chess number வரும்போதும், மேடையில நின்று ஒவ்வொரு பெர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் நடத்தும் போதும் ஒரே மாதிரி அவங்க வந்து சும்மா ரஃபா மார்க் போடாம அவங்க எக்ஸ்பிரஷன் எப்படி இருக்கு அதுக்கு ஒரு மார்க், பார்ட் செலக்ஷன் எப்படி இருக்கு அதுக்கு ஒரு மார்க் கொடுக்கலாம். இன்னொன்னுன்னா லைக் அவங்களோட தீம் எப்படி இருந்துச்சு, whether the theme is completely expressed, how was the flow of steps, இதெல்லாத்தையும் வந்து அழகா வந்து they can put a mark if it is very structured. If it is not, then just like that, some people may be performing well, they won't be having some theme. it will be given good marks. So there won't be a validity if you don't give a structure. So structured question is observation is very important, because sometimes we may ignore certain things, which is we say think that it may be insignificant, but that may be also counted. So structured in observation will help us to count each and every minute aspect of a incident which is happening. And that particular structure things you can copy it next time also. You can just repeat the thing. You can even make some upgrading. You can upgrade the criteria and use for the next time. You can say that like last college day event, what we did was we kept all this criteria and it worked so well. The correct candidate was given the award. So this time we'll also maintain the same thing. So that makes the methodology more validated. Okay. So what is the disadvantage of structural observation means? It is observer must be like always be observing based upon these things, like how is the expression, how is the themes, all those. They can't be involved in it. They always try to analyze the things. So that is observer must be present when the phenomena is happening, and research results in a limited and the overt action. Data is slow and expensive. It is time taking to collect all this information. So let us go to the, sorry, I have some more things to show you. So let us go to the, yeah. Next, I would like to go to the next section. That is the most important part. Whenever you have to express any data in the form of a, can you see my screen?
Yes, Chandraja ma'am.
Okay. So if you want to express certain data in the form of a simplified method, we have to always use certain methods, such as descriptive techniques, statistical techniques, such as mean, median, mode. All these things are trying to put the data, raw data together in a single numerical term. For example, when you go to a classroom, when a principal or when a examiner or in some sort of assessor goes to the classroom and asks, how is the students performing? They're performing very well. What is the class average? He will not ask what is the mark of each and every student. He may ask what is the class average. Okay, so the average term has more precise meaning. It can consolidate so many things together. So in statistics, it is very important to use certain things like that is measures of central tendency, which is commonly named as, that is um, what to say, precising the statistical term. Always remember that it is very important for us to present a particular data. That is, as I already told, data is raw, data is there is unimportant if you don't summarize it. If you want to make a data and information, you need to organize the data. Everything is told to you. So let us see what is the real practical aspect of it. So we have to first know the important thing, that how can you summarize a term, how can you summarize a raw data together. And that is that can be done by something called as measures of central tendency. Measures of central tendency is measuring the data's central tendency. You can just think a group of data just clouded in the, just uh, scattered in a particular area. So we have to identify the most central value of it, around which all the other data is clouded. We have to find out the central data around which all the other individual data is crowded. So the central data identification can be done in three important ways. The first one is median. It can be also called as arithmetic mean. So as you all know, arithmetic mean is nothing but, it is also called as average. You have to sum up all the value together, divided with the number of values. So it's very simple. You're going to the small test. There is a small example of it. I hope all of you have your there is paper and pen with you. Do all have students have pen and paper? Okay, let us start the practical session. I'm going to say a most simple thing which you have learned in the 4th or 5th standard. So this is the data. An academic achievement test was done, was administered on 10 students, and they obtained the following marks. So the scores are actually out of 10. We say all these score as X values. Scores are
Sorry,
called.
Chandraja ma'am.
Yes.
We cannot see the slide or PPT. Is there available for this?
Yeah, I'm showing you the screen actually. Can't you, can you see that?
No, question time. That is the screen we can see.
What? I couldn't understand.
Question time. That was the screen I can see. We can see.
No, 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 no. That's
Ah.
not. Actually, I wanted to. Okay, I'll put it again. That's what I was asking. Can you see the screen? Maybe. Okay. Now, can you see the screen?
Yes, yes,
Arithmetic. Yeah.
yes.
So this
Yes.
is the problem. Problem I'm telling you about. That is, an academic achievement test was administered for on 10 students, and these are the marks obtained by them. So, do you have your paper with you? Please know these values. The 10 students, the marks of 10 students were 8, 7, 4, 4, 7, 5, 6, 9, 2, 8. So these individual raw data can be also called as X values. Please remember these values, these scores, the data can be also called as X values. So here, the formula for finding out the mean for this type of data, when you have all the values just like that, raw data together, this type of data is called as ungrouped data. Here we don't have any grouping method. I'll tell you, when you learn about grouped data, you can understand the difference. Okay. So now this type of data is called as ungrouped data. So ungrouped data is not a classified data. So please, have you all written the individual values? So each value is called as X value. 8 can be called as X1, 7 can be called as X2, 4 can be called as X3. Likewise, X10 is 8. So you have to add all the values together. So first step is the formula is M, mean, arithmetic mean is equal to sigma, the sum of this symbol depicts sum of X divided by number of values. So sum of X is nothing but individual value 8 plus 7 plus 4 plus 4 plus 7 plus 5 plus 6 plus 9 plus 2 plus 8. So the 10 values have to be added. Divided by, how many values are there? 10. So you have to add, the answer is 60. Then you divide with 10. 60 divided by 10 is 6. So the mean of this particular sum is 6. 6 is the answer. So what is the step actually? For ungrouped data, add up all the scores of the student together, divide them with the sum of the numbers of the students whose scores has been added, and that gives the answer. I hope you understood the problem. Have you? Okay, let us do a problem now. I will give you a sum. You please do it and tell me now what is the answer. Okay. The problem is, just a moment. I didn't take my book. Okay. So please write down the problem. Okay. See, I'm going to give you some larger problem to make it more interesting. I'll tell you each step by step. 85. Write down. Are you writing it down? 85, 62, 94, 76, 77, 82, 58, 86, 84, 69, 91, 75, 69, 86, 84, 74, 65, 86, 90, 69, 86, 70, 78, 86, 81, 60, 79, 97, 85, 78. So 30 values are told now. Did you all write? Anyway, I'll tell it again. 85, 62, 94, 76, 77, 82, 58, 86, 84, 69, 91, 75, 69, 86, 84, 74, 65, 86, 90, 69, 86, 70, 78, 86, 81, 60, 79, 97, 85, 78. 30 values. Did you all write? Okay. Now the next step is arranging that in a ഗൗതം ഞാനൊരു ക്ലാസ്സിലാടാ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് വിളിക്കാം ഇല്ല ഞാൻ മെസ്സേജ് കണ്ടിരുന്നു ഫ്ലവർ ചെയ്തല്ലേ ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ ഫൈൻ ഓക്കെ സോ 85 62 shall I give you first you have to arrange that in an order. That means you have to arrange this set of data in an ascending or descending order. Ascending is more easy, right? So we have to arrange the whole data in an ascending order. What is the first lowest, that is minimum value among this, lowest value. You can see the first value is 58. Yes? Okay. I'm going to the chat session. Let me see how many of you are answering it. Okay. 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 So 58 is the lowest answer. Okay. Now, what is the second answer? Can anyone tell me? Second one? No, not 65. Second answer is 60. 60, yes, yes. Yes, Amrita, Rabina, very good. Janisha, 60. Third value is 62. 62. Did you see? Yes, yes, very good. And fourth value? 65. Yeah. Shalini, very good. Yes, yes, everyone. Very good. So likewise, you arrange that in an order. Come on, everyone. All the 30 values, please arrange it in order. You're doing it very well. Come on. Arrange it in order. Yes, 69. 69. You have a lot of 69. 269. No, 369. Then 70. If there is 269, you can put 269, comma. Next to the next. I hope there is 369 actually. There is 369s are there. Okay. Yeah. 70, 74, 75, 77, 78, 78, 79. Yeah. 78, 79, 81. Yeah. Yes, Mohanapriya, very good. 81, 82. 82 is there. I think you missed out Amrita. Amrita Vaishnavi, yeah. Amrita Vaishnavi, there is 82, 84, and there is 284. Students, there is 284. Yeah, and there is 285, 285, 285. 85 and the 285 ഉണ്ട്. Yes, yes, yes. And there is 586. Can you see? No, not 386. You can see 586. 586 are there. Yes, yes. Shalini, yes. Yes, 580. Sangeet, very good Sangeet. 586. Yes. Yeah. Amrita, very good. Yes. Snegita, very good. Yeah, 586 are there. Next to that, 90. Yeah, Mohanapriya, very good. 90. 90. Mohanapriya is doing very fast. Very good. 91. Shalini, very good. Yeah, Priyadarsh 91, 90, 91, 94. And last one
Chandra
is,
ma'am.
yes, yes. Yes, Bhavya? Bhavya, what happened? Hello? Bhavya, can you hear me? Any problem? Okay. So the last one was 97. So let us see. Very good. Sweta has summarized it. It is 58, 60, 62. You can check 60, 62, 65 is missing, Sweta. 65 was, 5 is there. You can see that 74, 65, 86. Yes, 65 is there. Yeah. Please add that also. 58, 60, 62, 65, 69, 69, 69, 70, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 78, 79, 81, 82, 84, 84, 85, 85, 86, 86, 86, 86, 86, 90, 91, 94, 97. Okay. So that was the total thing. So in this, from this value, you can do two calculation. That is, there is a term called as range. Whenever you go for a purchasing something, the shopkeeper may ask you what is the range you want, right? So the range is nothing but the lower boundary and upper boundary of your that is the value. For example, here the lower value Amrita Vaishnavi, either the lower value is, lowermost minimum value is 58, right? And the highest value is Deepak Raj, right? And the highest value is, yeah, Shalini Das, it is 97. Yeah. So 58 and 97 are the lowest and highest values. And we can minus these two values. That is 58, 97 minus 58. The answer is 39. Can you see that? The answer is 39. Yeah, Maggie, very good. So the answer is 39. So the range means lowest and highest value difference. It is also called as H minus L. Highest value minus lowest value. 97 minus 58 is equal to 39. So if you have 39, if you want to construct a frequency table, that means if you want to convert 30 value இப்படி இருக்கும்போது எவ்வளவு கஷ்டமா இருக்கு நம்மளால அதை கெஸ் பண்றதுக்கு. ஆமா, Amrita, very good. So very difficult for us to find out the answer or summarize something like this. So we can convert all this into a frequency table. Okay, before that, let us see how to find out a mean value by the simple calculation. As you all know, what is the formula for mean? Mean is equal to sigma x divided by n. Is it not? So sigma x divided by n, that is all the values. M is equal to sigma means sum of all the individual x value. 58 plus 60 plus 62 plus 65 plus likewise till 97 you can plus. All the values should be added. And what is the answer for that? Can anybody tell me what is the answer for that calculation? If you add all, yes, very good. It is 2362. Very good. Mohanapriya, Janisha, Pavitra, excellent. So the answer is 2362. Very good, Mohanapriya, Priyadarshini, Snegida. So answer is 2362. And now what is the n value? What is the n value? Can anybody tell? Very good. Janisha have calculated the value. Yes. So 2362 divided by n is 30. Divided by 30. That is equal to 78.73. So Rabida, Sweta, everybody have got the answer. Mohanapriya, Shalini, everyone have got the right answer. Very good. Maggie, good. Good. Congratulations, students. You have all got the right answer. And I am going to teach you why I gave you such a long question is to make you understand the different. You can calculate all the mean, median, mode together in a same problem. Okay. And even you can convert that particular values into a frequency table. That's what I gave you a big question. Okay. So, very good. In this way, you can find out a mean for a ungrouped data or raw data. Now, going to the next thing called as median. Okay, median can be also called as middle value. Median, middle value. So to find out the middle value, you can, same process as you have did the first step of the mean, you are rearrange the whole thing together, right? Similarly, need not rearrange again. We have did it already. So first thing is the mean calculation is first to rearrange the ungrouped data, the raw data in a ascending or descending manner. Second step is to find out the central value. How will you find out the central value? Find out n first. How many values are there? N is equal to, what is n value? Already we know, yeah, 30, very good. So n is 30. So 30 divided by 2. To find out the central value, 30 divided by 2, what is it? 50. 15 is the right answer, right, very good. So it is not, 15 is not the answer. 15th value, you have to find out the 15th value in the series. So we already have a series. Yes, exactly. The 15th value, my 15th value is 79. How come you got that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. My 15th value was 79. Yes. Good. Jareen, Rabita, Shalini all got 79, right? So 30 divided by 2 is 15. So 15 the value is considered. Okay. If your question is like n value was a odd number like 31, what will you do? You have to convert the formula n by 2th value into n by 2th value into n plus 1 by 2th value. N by 1 by 2, that value item have to be selected. For example, if your answer is 31, the n value was 31, 31 plus 1 divided by 2, that is 32 divided by 2, 16. 16th value have to be selected. Okay, so that is the method to identify the median. Okay, next going to the, I hope you understood this answer. 79 was the right answer. Very good, all of you. So the step is nothing but arranging. Yeah, I'll repeat. Janisha, I'll repeat it. Yes. So the first step in median, finding out median, is arranging your value, raw data, into an ascending or descending order. You have already done that first, is it? You have already done the arrangement earlier for the mean. And you have to count how many values are there. There are 15 values. So, sorry, 30 values. So the formula for finding mean is n by 2 ith value. That means n by 2 ith item is the right term to be mentioned. Here it is 30. 30 by 2 is 15. 15th value have to be selected. So among the series arrangement, you have to select the 15th. 30ல 15வது value எதுன்னு கண்டுபிடிக்கணும். அப்ப ஆல்ரெடி நம்ம எழுதி இருக்கோம் 58ல இருந்து எழுதி இருக்கோம் 97 வரைக்கும். அதுல 15வது value எது? Last one அப்பா. என்ன Janisha, can you please tell? Janisha, if there is any doubt, please. Yes, and Shalini have written that n by 2th value 79. Janisha, if it is an odd value, you can add 1, n plus 1. Odd total இருந்தா நீங்க வந்து 31 இருந்தா 31 plus 1 divide by 2. அப்ப 31 இருந்தா 32 ஆயிடும். 16வது வேல்யூ வரும். Divide by 2 ஆகும்போது 16வது வேல்யூ. ஓகே? n by 2, n plus 1 by 2th value. Okay, Janisha? Okay, thank you so much, Janisha. So let us go to the next term. That is, now we have finished median. Next is mode. So highly repeated value. See, I'm not displaying any PowerPoint now because I'm just seeing how you are doing it. Okay, yes, Amrita Vaishnavi have written it correctly. N by n plus 1 by 2th value if it is odd value. Very good, Vaishnavi. Thank you for supporting. So mode is nothing but highly repeated value is called as mode. Okay, so we already have got the mode. We already discussed. Yes, very good. So 86 was repeated how many times? 5 times. So we select 86 as the highly repeated value. Mode is nothing but highly repeated value. That is, which is when you draw a curve, the curve which may give you a peak is called as mode. So it is, if you have only one value repeated, yes, Madina, it is Madiha, it is 5 times. 86 is repeated 5 times. So 86 is the answer. Shalini, Deepak, very good. Everyone did very well. So that's the spirit. So this is how we have to find out the mean, median, mode for a ungrouped data. Okay, let us see how to convert. The very important thing is converting a grouped data, ungrouped data into a grouped data. That is the next thing. If there is no repeated value, then there is no mode. Okay, there is no mode. Janisha, there is no repeated value, there is no mode. Okay, or you can see, another way you can tell that the value which is very much close and many times repeated. If there is two same frequency repeating, then it is the two values are called as mode. Okay, or you can add it together and put the central value. If it is 79 and 80, you can put 79 plus 80 divided by 2. That is 80 plus 80.5. That can be the answer. No repeated value means no mode. Okay, so we'll see everything in detail now. Okay, so we can convert all this thing into the frequency table, and the frequency table can also be analyzed. Let us see one question now. Okay, we have already processed there is a 30 value now, and that we'll discuss now. So we can convert. How to prepare a frequency table? That is the next question. So preparing a frequency table is now. Just a moment, I'll show you. I'm posting a photograph of what I did. In Bhavya's WhatsApp, I'll post. I'll share that picture. My WhatsApp. Yeah. Are you able to see my screen?
No, it's not clear, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm opening the picture. Just a moment. It is already opened. Because why I'm showing you that picture is there is a calculation for finding out how many types of um, class intervals can be divided. That's what class interval division. Okay, right. Can you see my book? Are you able to see that?
No, no, no. Yes, once again, ma'am. Something.
Now?
Wait. Yes, yes, but little bit you can maximize, I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I'll show you that particular thing. Somebody have raised the hand. I'm not able to close it. Yeah. So, students, this was the calculation. Why I'm showing you this is so you have to understand one thing is frequency from the if you want to prepare frequency table, we already have calculated the range. Okay. What happened? Can you see something? Bhavya,
Yeah, no.
totally stop. Okay. Eல்லாம் stuck ஆகி போய். What happened? I don't know. Okay, my voice is audible, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let us, students, sorry for this inconvenience. My whole system is now stuck. I don't know what happened. So range is nothing but 97 minus 58, that is 39. We have already calculated the value. Range H minus L is 39. So you can round off the 39 as the 40. Okay. 39 can be rounded off into 40. Please round off the range value as 40. Usually we have the number of class interval. That is when you divide the there is whole raw data into a table form. The number of divisions is commonly 5. Okay. So we can divide the 40 into 5. 40 divided by 5. 5 divisions. Okay. That is equal to 8. Usual divisor for finding out the that is the class interval is 5. Okay, so 40 divided by 5 is 8. Now we can divide each of the data, that is lowest data 58 with 8 divisor, that is add with 8. 58 plus 8 is equal to 65. 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. So 8. Divide you can divide the whole data, that is highest to lowest, into with 8. Okay. 58 to 65, first class interval. Second is 66 to 73, second class interval. 74 to 81, third class interval. 83 to 89, fourth class interval. 90 to 97, fifth class interval. Okay. Divide the whole value, that is 8, that is we have got 30 x values into class intervals, and see between 58 to 65 how many values are there. 68 to 73 how many values are there. 74 to 81 how many values are there. 80 to 89 how many values are there, and 90 to 97 how many values are there. So X is class interval and F is all the frequency values.
Chandraja ma'am, there are some questions posted by the students.
I'm not able to see anything. That's a
Yes, yes. How 65? That is one of the question.
Yeah, that's what the question. The answer is nothing but 58 is the lowest value, right? So 58, I've told you, you have to divide the lowest and highest value. That is, answer is 97 minus 58 is 39. 39 has to be converted to the nearest round value, that is 40. That in the adutha value, that is nearby value is 40. Is it not? So 40 divided by the common divisor, that is usually for a class interval, we have only 5 class interval commonly. Common number, that is number of class interval for any data is, any frequency table is 5. So what we do is, we divide the 40 divided by 5. So the answer is 8. Now add the 8 with the lowest value. What is the lowest value? 58. 58 plus 8 is, very next 8 value is 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. Okay. And 58 also, because 58 is also present. Okay. So 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. Add 58 plus 8. That is 58 plus 8. 58 in 58 from 58 to next 8 values, 8 digits, 65. Okay. Then take next value 66. Next range is from 66 to 73. Next is 74 to 81. Next is 82 to 89. 92 to 97. Is it okay, Bhavya? Is there any other question?
No.
No, and just ask whether the doubt is cleared or not. Anybody having doubt, please, that is, put a comment.
No.
No, okay, fine.
That is okay.
Now, what was the range? 59. How many values are there between 58 to 65? 4. Did you see? This 4 answer. Are they answering, Bhavya?
Yes, they are answering.
Yeah.
4.
4. 66 to 73. How many? 4 is the answer.
Yes, 4. They mentioned.
74 to 81. How many values are there? 8. Answer.
Janisha Mary has answered 8.
8. Very good, Janisha. Now 82 to 89. How many values are there? Mohana Priya,
10.
Janisha. Yeah.
10 they have given.
Okay, fine. Very good. 10. 90 to 97, how many values? 90 to 97, how many values are there? Again, 4. Yes or no?
Yes, they have answered 4.
Yeah. Now add all the frequency and see whether that is 30. You are getting 30. Frequency value, add just see whether it is 30. 4 plus 4 plus 8 plus 10 plus 4. Answer is 30.
Shalini has answered, Chandra ma'am, 30.
Yeah, that's it. So thus you have learned to construct a frequency table from a raw data. So from 30 values, you constructed a 5-columned frequency table. So such a table where you have class interval and the frequency beautifully arranged, simplified, precisely mentioning the whole data in a small table. This table is called as frequency table. Constructing a frequency table is very important. And now you have understood how to classify your raw data, how to organize your raw data, and also tabulate your raw data. Okay. So this table is the result of understanding, classifying, arranging, classifying, and organizing. So thus, you can convert the data into information. Now we can say students who got marks between 58 to 65 is 4. 4 students have got mark below 65. 4 students have got mark below 73. That is 66 to 73. 8, the highest score, that is most of the students, that is 10 students have got marks between 82 to 89. So the class is performing very well. They are working in a distinct manner. So this way you can describe the particular population. So this is nothing but a descriptive statistics. This is how we can mention it. Okay. So Bhavya, can we stop today? Can we go to the next class tomorrow? Next class?
Tomorrow, yes.
Okay. So maybe there won't be any technical difficulty tomorrow. Hope so. Yeah. Okay. Shall we stop?
Okay.
The time is... Yeah.
We'll have classes tomorrow, the same time, 6 to 7 p.m. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.